All right, let's get right into it. If you're a driver in Ontario, some major changes are coming down the pike for your auto insurance. Now, on the surface, it's all being sold as giving you more choice. But is that really the whole picture? We're going to break down what's actually going on, looking at it through the eyes of an industry expert. And we're starting with a quote that, probably sums up how a lot of us feel. This is from Adam Mitchell. He's the CEO of an insurance brokerage, and he's admitting his first reaction was basically a shrug. Because, let's be honest, it's pretty easy to just tune out when people start talking about insurance regulations. But something obviously changed his mind. I mean, he went from who cares to actually writing an article telling people they need to pay attention and speak out. So what did he see that the rest of us might be missing? That's the real question we're digging into here. Okay, first things first. To really get what this new fix is all about, we have to set the stage. And we can start with something that I think pretty much every single driver in Ontario can agree on. The system, it's expensive, it can be really confusing, and for years, people have been demanding change. So reform isn't just something people want, it feels totally overdue. And because of that, the government decided it was time to step in and do something. And that action brings us to this proposed solution, which is set to roll out in the summer of 2026. The big idea here is to modernize the system, and the key selling point is giving you, the consumer, more control. But what does that control actually look like when the rubber hits the road? And here it is. This is the fundamental shift, right here. Right now, your standard policy comes with a bundle of mandatory benefits. They're just baked in. But after July 1st, 2026, it's going to be more like a menu, where you have to pick and choose which of those benefits you actually want to pay for. We're moving from a package deal to an a la carte system. So what exactly is on this new menu of choices? Well, we're talking about things like income replacement, if you can't work after a crash, benefits to help care for a dependent, help with housekeeping, even death and funeral benefits. These are all incredibly important protections that are standard right now but are about to become opt-in choices. It is important to note, though, that your core medical and rehab benefits, those will stay mandatory. More choice. I mean, it sounds great, doesn't it? Who doesn't want more choice? But this is exactly where that insurance expert starts to raise some really serious flags. He argues that we have to look much, much closer at the trade-off we're all being asked to make. And here is the absolute kicker. You might be thinking, awesome, I'll just opt out of a few things and save a ton of money. But data from Ontario's own financial regulator suggests that's just not going to happen. If you want to keep the exact same level of coverage you have right now, your premiums are expected to stay pretty much the same. So this is the dilemma you're faced with. You can choose to opt in and keep all the benefits you have today, and your price doesn't really change. The only way to see any real savings is to opt out, and that means giving up coverage. The big concern here is that a lot of people won't realize just how much protection they're giving up until, well, they actually need it. The author has a name for what's happening here. He calls it risk shifting. It's a simple idea, really. Instead of the financial cost of a bad accident being spread out across a huge pool of everybody who's insured, more and more of that risk gets shifted directly onto the shoulders of the one person who has the accident. So who ends up carrying this shifted risk? The argument is that it's not just the person who signs the insurance policy. And unfortunately, it seems to hit the most vulnerable people in our society the hardest. The first group, no surprise, is lower income drivers. I mean, think about it. If you're on a really tight budget, the pressure to cut costs by saying no to these newly optional coverages is going to be huge. And the worry is that this puts them in an incredibly vulnerable position if a serious accident ever happens. And that really gets to the heart of the problem. People won't be declining these benefits because they don't need them. They'll be declining them because they can't afford the premium with them included. And that's what could turn a simple car accident into a life-altering financial disaster. Now, this next part is genuinely shocking and something most of us would never think about. The impact goes way beyond the driver. See these optional benefits? They only apply to people who are specifically named on the policy. That means passengers in your car, pedestrians, cyclists, even people in rideshares who might be injured. They could have access to far, far less funding for their recovery unless, and this is a big unless, they just happen to have their own auto policy. Okay, so let's pull back for a second and look at the bigger picture here. What's the fundamental principle that's really at stake with these reforms?
At its very core, the author reminds us insurance is supposed to be a kind of social safety net. It's this collective system that we all pay into, so that if one of us suffers a catastrophe, the resources are there to help them recover and get back on their feet. And the central argument here is that these changes to our accident benefits, well, they weaken that safety net. By making these critical protections optional, we're moving away from that idea of collective responsibility and more toward a model where every individual is basically on their own. And this quote just sums it all up perfectly. The author says, this isn't real modernization. It's just a way of transferring financial risk from the big insurance system directly to individual people, many of whom might not even understand the massive implications of the choices they're making.
And you know what makes this whole thing even more concerning? The complete lack of public awareness. We have this massive, fundamental change to our insurance system just around the corner, and yet there's no major public education campaign explaining what's really at stake when people go to renew their policies after July 2026. So in the end, we're left with this really powerful question. The changes are being sold to us as a win for consumer choice, but if that choice doesn't come with real savings, and it comes with potentially catastrophic consequences for the most vulnerable people, is it really a choice worth having at all? It's definitely something for every single driver in Ontario to think about.